Boy, let me tell you, this feels really weird. I haven't done this in a long time.
Hey everybody, really quick. So while I was filming this, the clouds kept going in front of and away from the sun. So you're going to see some pretty gnarly lighting changes throughout this video, but it's a Q&A, so it's all good. Anyway, bye.
Hey everybody, so really quick before I start the actual Q&A, I want to announce something that I don't know how you're going to take it, but I've had a lot of people actually ask me for this, which is kind of weird. People still like, hey, are you ever going to do this? Or you ever thought about doing this? And I hadn't really, but several people kept asking me about it, so I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give it a shot. So I'm opening a Patreon. Now, I know some people might roll your eyes and be like, oh, everybody has a Patreon now. I get it. But the thing is, you know, my channel is at this stage now where it's big enough that it gets noticed by people like you or by YouTube. Hello, video got put on trending. What's going on? But it's not quite big enough to sustain itself fully yet. But with Patreon, I hope I can kind of bridge that gap a little bit. At least if my channel ever gets to a stage where it's like I don't need to worry about it anymore, like then maybe I'll take away the Patreon or maybe I'll change it up or whatever. But for now, you know, I kind of want to give people the content that they want. But because I'm working full-time and doing these videos full-time, you know, just a little behind the scenes, like one of these animations takes anywhere from 30 to like 40 hours to finish. So, you know, I'm working 40 hours a week at my job, and then I have to make videos for 40 hours a week. It's like I'm working 2 full-time jobs, which is just a barrel of fun. But with this Patreon, I hope I can kind of bridge that gap, kind of rationalize a little bit where I can do the sort of, you know, analysis or talking about movies or TV shows or just life concepts or whatever that I used to do in video essays, but just, you know, take away the motion graphics. And I'm thinking about starting like a podcast or some kind of second channel thing where it's a little bit low key, a little bit kind of subdued, but the same kind of discussion. It's not just all the jokes and the animations, but maybe a little more serious. I know some people like that, some people wanted that. And I miss doing it too. I loved doing those video essays, but it's just, I can't really rationalize putting that amount of time into it right now. Of course, you know, if I ever get to a point where I can spend more time on YouTube, less time on my job, or all my time on YouTube and no time on my job, then, you know, obviously that could maybe change. But for now, I'm hoping this Patreon can kind of bridge that gap. So it's really simple. It's just $5 a month, gets you behind the scenes stuff, gets you like early new artwork, early drafts of scripts that I'm writing, because sometimes the scripts go through a lot of changes. You can kind of see where it started and where my thought process was. Then you can see the final video and see where it ended up. Also, you can help vote on what you want the next video to be. Anyway, so I'm keeping it really simple. Link is in the description below. If you want to support, like I said, it's just $5 a month. You can give as much or as little as you want. You know, don't feel pressured. Don't spend money you don't have. It's totally fine. It's just, you know, just think of it as a way to support me, support this channel. Hopefully I can do more stuff that you guys kind of want. You know, not just the animations. Maybe I can do some stuff on the side that maybe, you know, maybe if you missed the video essays or you missed some of the older type of videos, maybe I can bring those back, that type of thing. Anyway, so just check it out if you're interested. No pressure. Just, you know, it's there if you want it. And now on to the Q&A. So, you know, my channel's been growing a lot recently, obviously. And so a lot of people come in there and they don't really know me as a person, which, you know, because I did videos for like 2.5 years before any of you showed up. So I've shared a lot about my life, but I understand that not a lot of you really know that much about me, which is probably for the best, let's be honest here. So I thought I would do a little Q&A, just so you guys get to know me a little better, get to know my thoughts a little bit better, that type of thing. So I just hope that after you get to know me, you don't just, you know, run away. So there you go. Felicis is Lost asks, how do I meet someone? Please, I'm lonely. Well, I mean, obviously nowadays meeting people online is really common. You know, there's like so many dating apps and things like that. But I know like a lot of people say this, but like dating apps have kind of turned dating into this kind of like commodity. And it kind of messes with your head a little bit because it's like usually in real life, right? You have a group of friends, maybe like a dozen people at most that you really interact with, and they have friends that they know, and so kind of tangentially you meet these people. But generally, like in your real life, you only tend to really have like maybe 10, 20 people that are in your like vicinity, right? And maybe of this entire group, maybe there's 1 or 2 people that you would consider dating, right? And if it doesn't work out, or if they're already taken or whatever, you know, then it's like, well, you have to like go somewhere else. You have to go to university far away, or you have to like take a different class at university, or you need to move to a different town, like in order to really expand your circle. But what online has done is it's basically allowed anyone to theoretically access anyone else. And so it kind of makes people like in your head, you know that there's more people out there. There's definitely someone better. There's someone better looking, or maybe there's someone funny, or maybe there's someone whatever. And so it kind of makes you not want to take your current relationship so seriously, if that makes sense, because it's like, well, if it doesn't work out, I mean, there's like got 20 other guys messaging me right now, you know, and so it kind of makes you not try as hard, or maybe expect too much from the other person. Like they really have to try, because if they're just not quite just a little bit good enough, then it's like, wow, there's just 20 other people on my phone asking me out right now. So it's like, how do you meet someone? I guess it depends what kind of relationship you're looking for, because if you want something that's long term, you should probably not date online, typically speaking. But if you just want someone to date you because you're lonely, maybe that's more of an underlying issue that you have with yourself. I don't know. Obama asks, would you like to go to Northern Europe? Yes, I would. I would love to visit Europe. Just hard to find time. Shady Rodriguez. Now this is someone who's in my notifications all the time, sending me messages and things like that, so thanks for that. Anyway, it says, how did you become an English teacher in Japan? Was it easy? I'm debating becoming one. Well, how I became an English... Now, I haven't taught English in Japan in a long, long time. Thank goodness. It's not something you should do long term. If you teach English more than a couple years, like, you really need to evaluate yourself. But, I mean, I came to Japan and I just answered, like, classified ads and then just got a job like that. There's no like special way. I came to Japan and there's a lot of different websites, like job search websites, and there's an endless amount of English teaching related jobs. Answered one and went to the interview, and then I got it, and then my life kind of took this weird roller coaster ride. But it's actually not really that hard. Hot Mess Yes says, did you know Japanese before you moved to Japan? No. Does your wife know Japanese as well? Yes. Do you two speak Japanese more than English when you're at home? When we're at home, it's mostly English. When we visit her family or whatever, it's all Japanese. How do I know when a relationship is going nowhere? Very good question, Tatos. I mean, how do you know it's going? I guess first you need to decide where it is you want it to go in the first place. Because, the idea of like, oh, it's going nowhere, but like, maybe that's actually what you want. Like if in your head you're like, I want to get married, and the person you're dating is not going towards that, then obviously, that's for you, that's going nowhere. But if you're someone who's just like, hey, I'm not looking to get married right now, just looking to have a good person in my life and just enjoy our time together, that if it's not heading in any particular direction, then maybe that's actually a good thing. So, I mean, the most important question is like, where do you want it to go? And is it going in that direction? Because, you might think you want it to go a certain way, but that might not necessarily make you happy. Like if you're happy with the way things are now and it's not moving in any particular direction and you feel like it should be, then, I think you need to kind of reevaluate why you feel that way. Like, is it society pressure? Is it pressure from your family? Is it just, you think it's supposed to be this way, but it's not, even though things are great. There's a lot of, it's really up to you. How do you know if it's going nowhere and if that's what you want or if you want something else? Sophia asks, most embarrassing thing that happened to you in the past with a crush? Literally my entire high school experience is me just being embarrassing with girls I had crushes on. Like, there's so many stories, I could probably make an animation out of it. There you go. Yum Yum I Want Some asks, how do you feel about animated movies and TV shows? Well, obviously I love them. I make cartoons on YouTube. Well, I kind of grew up in the time of like Iron Giant and Goofy Movie and kind of the cartoon renaissance of the 90s with like Tiny Toons and Animaniacs and like Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls and Samurai Jack, and I kind of grew up in this time when animation was like exploding on TV, and that I always wanted to actually be a voice actor when I was younger. I don't know if I made it good at it, but that was just a thing I wanted to do, and so now I get to make cartoons and kind of do my own voices and things like that, and so it's really fun for me to do that. But yeah, when I was a kid, I was really into cartoons. I still kind of am, I guess, in a way. Claudia Boone asks, I almost always miss question time. Well, not this time. Hi. Who are some of your biggest inspirations for art, YouTube, or filmmaking, editing, whatever? Okay, well, this is a deep old question here. So, my inspirations for animation is not really anyone on YouTube. I mean, I mentioned this a little bit before in my older videos, if you go back. My older animations, a couple months before I made my first Riverdale video, I was really into like Odd Ones Out, Jaden Animations, Alex Clark, people like that. And so I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, that would be cool if I could kind of figure this out myself and learn it. But I never really did much with it until I started watching Riverdale season 2. and I was planning on making a video essay about Riverdale season 2, but it was like in my head it seemed like it would be a weird idea if I made like a really fancy motion graphic video where all I did was talk about how dumb or how messy Riverdale season 2 is. It would just be like kind of weird, you know, because it's like this like fancy motion graphics and then me being like, what the heck is Jughead doing? You know, it'd be weird. And so I was like, I think this might be a perfect chance for me to kind of teach myself how to do animation. I didn't really go into animation because I was inspired by like Alex Clark or whatever, but it was just like, it was just something I wanted to try because like I could make it funny while I make fun of this show. And so I kind of fell into it. But for animation, I get a lot of inspiration from, well, like I mentioned before, like Animaniacs, Dexter's Lab, Iron Giant, Goofy Movie, various like 90s anime that I watched when I was a kid. You know, it's like I pull inspiration from a lot of places, but not from any specific person, at least for the animation wise. Now, I like to think that my humor is my own, but obviously, just like everyone, I'm influenced by people that I've listened to and watched and things like that. And so, like, you know, people whose humor I like a lot is, of course, like JonTron or Video Game Donkey, I think is hilarious. Joe Santagato, I think is Joe Santagato is a really good example of someone who just does their own thing. Like, he never collabs with anyone. Like, there's never like shout outs. It's just like he just does his thing, his humor, his way, and like that's it. So I mean, I guess I'm influenced a bit by them. Like, I don't consciously like pull from them. Like, I'm gonna take that thing, but it's just like I'm influenced by them, I guess. Lad and Lad says, what are your thoughts on chocolates and roses and stuff on Valentine? Chocolate's awesome. What are you talking about? Roses are dumb. I think giving roses is dumb just because it's like, it's a gesture of like love, right? But like they die in like 2 days. So like, what are you trying to say here? You know, you try to say, is this like is this a breakup gift? What is this? Hannah Delaney says, do you think Valentine's Day is a waste of time or do you think it's a good holiday? I mean, it's one of those Hallmark holidays, right? It's like, it's a waste of time in the idea that like it just exists to get you to spend money. And it's like, oh, if you're single for Valentine's Day, that means you're a loser. But like, I don't know, like it's like you're told it's important, so therefore it's important, but like inherently it doesn't mean anything. I think people care too much about a lot of stuff. Mohan, says, would you ever move out of Japan? If so, where? We've actually talked about this. You know, I've been in Japan because I came to Japan and I stayed in Japan, therefore I was in Japan. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's just like I came to Japan when I was 18 and I just kind of stayed because I was already there and it was easier. And obviously, you know, Japan has good healthcare. You know, things work very well, that kind of stuff. But we've actually talked about like if YouTube ever gets to a stage where like it's sort of self-sustaining, where like we can like really like make a living off of it, and theoretically we could live anywhere and still do YouTube, right? It's like, where would we go? We've actually thought about maybe moving to United States or somewhere else, you know, somewhere where things are cheaper and kind of bigger. And you know, like we have this idea of like, wouldn't it be cool if we just moved to like the countryside in America somewhere, just middle of nowhere, bought like this huge plot of land, and just like lived with no people anywhere, and just us and Charlie, and just living life and getting dogs and stuff. Like that's kind of our it's kind of our dream right now. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but you know, that's kind of our dream or whatever. Nicole Zimmerly asks, okay, I have the most obvious and generic question. How did you and how long did it take for you to learn Japanese? I've actually mentioned this in a couple videos, but they're much older. I don't watch them. They're garbage. But basically what I did to study is I went to a store called Book Off, which is like a discount bookstore, and you can get books for like $1, like 100 yen. So I would get a bunch of just random books. I didn't care what the theme was, whatever, just random books. I would get them and I would rewrite them by hand, and I would say them out loud, every word that I rewrote. And so that got me used to writing every single word and saying every single word. And because it was a book written by a Japanese person, you know, I assume the grammar was completely correct. And so it got me used to sort of seeing and reading and writing correct grammar. And I would just rewrite these books over and over and over and over and over again. Of course, if I didn't know a word, didn't know how to say it, I would then look it up in a dictionary or whatever. And then if there's a new word I didn't know, I would rewrite it like 20 times in a row. Again, say it out loud every single time. And so that got me used to reading, writing, speaking like every single word I could find. And then for listening, I would watch like the news a lot. Obviously I would listen to people talking around me, people on the train, people at work, whatever. So I would study about 8 hours a day, and I did this for about 2 years straight of consciously like rewriting all these books over and over and over and over and over again. And then, listening, you just kind of, when you're immersed in a language, you're just kind of listening to it all the time. And so if you consciously choose to keep your ears open, you can actually absorb a lot more than you think. Shelby Drew Raven says, who is or who has been your favorite artist? Like, who made you start doing animated videos? Well, like I said, no one specifically got me into animated videos, but artists that I like, I never went to art school or anything, so I have like no real thoughts on like artistry. Really, it's just, I just like to draw my own stuff, I guess. But there is this artist on YouTube. Her name is Sarah Tepes, I think. And she's like really young, like 19 or like that. And she's just one of the most amazing like digital artists I've ever seen. Now, I don't cruise around looking at every single digital artist I can find, but she's just this like, she just graduated high school recently, and she's just like this absolutely amazing artist. If you're interested in art or anything like that, check her out. She's really fantastic. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got to know me a little better. I hope we get to know each other a little better as this goes on. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please check out the Patreon if you're interested. If you're not, it's totally fine. No pressure. Subscribe to my dog Charlie. He has his own Instagram. By the way, I do not run Charlie's Instagram account. So every time you send a message on Instagram that's like, you should do this video or you should talk about this TV show, that doesn't go to me. That goes to Charlie and Natsuko. So if you want to message me about TV shows or whatever, you should message me on Twitter. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Hope you learned something new. Hope it was worth your time. And next Tuesday, brand new animation about a TV show that everyone's been asking me to do. By everyone, I mean probably not everyone, but a lot of people ask me to do this TV show. So I'm finally doing it. So look forward to that on Tuesday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.